So welcome to this webinar of tonight on this particular festive day. The technician is inviting you to put yourself on the right channel. Se mi sentite qui in italiano è sbagliato, siete sul canale inglese. This is the English channel. Good. So we step by step everyone arrives. As all our webinars, this will be recorded, taped. So for those who cannot be the whole time or wants to re-listen, can recuperate it. I start now. Welcome, Convoy, says Ragno. For those who don't know me, my name is Ragno Latuga, which is Spider Salad, and I'm the coordinator of Alchemy. My name is Labrador, and I will translate for you. And we're welcoming you to this webinar to speak a bit about these energies, which is here in our hemisphere, because of course it's different. We just celebrated equinox of spring, but on the other side of the world you had autumn equinox, right? So the tradition of our places in Italy and also other regions, you celebrate also Easter. And so it's a festive day, and it's a day which is referring to old traditions, not only Christians one, but very, very ancient ones, all these spiritual traditions in this period had was celebrating this passage between winter to spring. We are very connected to the cycles of nature. So the cycles of nature for us are this clock, which puts into syntony and in perfect equilibrium ourselves and us humans with nature itself, with the world, the animals, the plants, and the plant world. And in these moments of passage between one season and the other, and there are very particular moments happening for our energy, and knowing that we can use them and to go always use them to go towards this concept of evolutionary alchemy. We always have to remember the goal of alchemy is always the evolution of humans, which means take the humans as they are and bring them to a higher level. And therefore, we open for our students, or we opened up to you students to teach this ancient science, to be able to do a really pathway of refinement to bring ourselves to higher levels. And therefore, as you know, alchemy in the ancient tradition as today, you can divide it in two big threads: the inferior alchemy or the superior alchemy. What does this mean, these two big definitions? Very simply, the inferior alchemy is the one connected to understand our parts. What are these heavinesses which makes us difficulties and which doesn't make us fly and run? So which holds us back: characteral parts, humor, and also aspects of karma of past lives. There's a lot of things we bring behind us. And there are aspects which have to be resolved, or maybe also to approach new energies. So the inferior alchemy is the alchemy of state of consciousness, is to know these parts and to go and transform them. So from one, like from a heavy part to a more refined part, and you start in the alchemical process, in this ancient process, and also in the modern one, the transmutation of yourself into something different. The other alchemy, the superior alchemy, is the divine alchemy. In the traditions, they say few had the ability to express that. It's not that it's reserved for few ones. No, it's few of us arrive there. The superior alchemy means to abandon our human part and to be as a center in our divine part, which is inside every one of us. And Easter is a moment where there is an esoteric explanation about this concept. The death and the rebirth is actually speaking about this aspect. So we know the fact that it's good that the religions are there because they are explained by the spiritual masters, is like a primary school of spirituality, and they are needed to know the ABC, the basis, and then going ahead, understanding. You go on like on high school, on senior high school, and so on. So returning back to the concept of Easter, has this concept of death and rebirth, this resurrection of Jesus. What does this mean in esoteric way? That the death of the little ego, of our egoistic part, is then in the rebirth to our higher self, to our divine spark, to our bigger part, to say so. And this also is the energy of the season, which allows us to finish everything which was in winter, the blackness, the darkness, and to be reborn into the light. Now in the spring equinox, we even say that the light is winning over the darkness. Yeah, because there is more light. We're going towards the light and we're coming out of the dark period. In the equinox, we are on the same level, and then going towards the summer solstice, the days get longer and the nights shorter, so we have more light. So this alchemical concept is a concept which allows us to understand that the energy of this moment, which allows us to open us to this force, it helps us in understanding what are our parts, which are maybe are still, and but what are these little seeds in us sprouting, so that in they can bring then in some of the desired fruits or results. So that's the concept of Easter, a concept of death and rebirth. And it's also explicitated in the key of Isis. Then we will do a little meditation together on this symbol, of this archaic, ancient symbol, but still today powerful, which teaches us a lot of things. The symbology of the cross. The cross it's a line, it's a vertical line, which has a horizontal line as well. What does this mean? It is the spirit, which is encountering the matter. That's the significance of a cross. And all what was added on comes then afterwards. This unions generates life. In fact, it was misunderstood, the Catholical cross with the figure of Christ and the pain which is refigurated in the Catholic churches. The same representation comes from the ancient history of Egypt, even in before from Atlantis. So if we remain in Egypt, which is closer to us, which we know more, they use the cross of Isis, the key of life, which is made differently with a with like a kind of a ring, a circle, and then we have the line indicating matter, and then the part, the straight part, which is vertical. This cross, which is the cross of life, is refiguring all teachings of uh, the snake biting its tail, death and rebirth, as it happens for the seasons, as it happens for our soul. It's cycles of existence. And thanks to that, we cannot, thanks to that, we can understand how many cycles you go through to give us the possibility to understand these lessons of life our souls need to make then the evolutionary steps. So today we're speaking about energies, because I would like to bring to you to make experiences connected to the energy of this very moment. Already, for those who have a little of spring here, huh? We've seen a lot of springs here, huh? If we have a certain age. Huh? So we've seen a certain cycle, which allows us every time to die and be reborn again, not in a closed cycle, but like as a spiral, which from one starting point, when we are born physically into this world with this body we have to till today, and we are going this spiral which goes up, and every time longer turns, wider turns. What does this mean? It's the concept of evolution. So the cycle of nature repeats. But thanks to our experience, thanks to our knowledge, the work we have done on ourselves, every time we can open a new level. So the teaching, the base teaching, coming back to the primary school, to the Catholic in teaching, Christ sacrificed himself to save us. Ah, we have to sacrifice our parts of ourselves, to free ourselves, to awake the divine inside of us. That's a bit the meaning, which we are doing, huh? Because maybe you spoke about that in these days, on the concept of the of Easter, the concept of sacrifice. These are, since the ancient times, are this alchemical pathway from the nigredo, from the ignorance, to then the light, from the blackness. The light is lighting up, then this flame burning this wood and creates this coal, but step by step our attention is brought there, because in alchemy it's the alchemical fire which makes the process start. Every alchemical operation, every alchemical mission of transmutation, on this obvious, famous metal transformation starts from our will, from our attention. So this alchemical fire burning ourselves, like this gross parts of ourselves, which then flame by flame from the blackness, and then turning into ashes. So from nigredo you come to the albedo, to the refineness, to the magic, the forces, ourselves. These refined energies ready to be reused for other goals, because that's a goal, the final goal, to take our chunk parts and not only to express our needs, but to take these energies and direct them to goals, desires, which are more elevated. This refined energy, which was not expressed in the moment, in the nigredo, in the albedo, is this concept where it's more refined, which then goes to the ember, to the red, to the blood of life, to this higher level, which means we go and direct our energies to a higher goal. So it's a goal we choose, or we have been inspired, this like this goal of our soul. Every one of us has a goal, has something to reach, and it's the only way to be happy at the end in the esoteric tradition, is to be really happy in life. We have to overlay ourselves to ourselves, on ourselves. So our divine part has to be expressed by our human part. So our ego, as we said at the beginning, has to sacrifice itself to express its nature, its divine nature, its conscious instrument for our divine nature, for the goals which we are actually born in this very moment. So in this phase of life, as at the beginning is this new era, the era of Aquarius, this golden era, this eon, which means thousands of years, dedicated to the rebirth and to the revealing of divine characteristics in the humans, because the goal of our race is to divinize matter, to make our divine nature flow in the matter around us. These are all concepts which, with big names, with big players, but in the simplicity, it's the simplicity of our being. We are that. That's our direction. Every one of us. Every one of us has this goal. And as a big puzzle in this big design, in this big picture of the prime divinity humankind, every one of us is this little piece put into in the right place, in the right way, together with the others. We are composing this marvelous painting. Where we find ourselves today, we find ourselves inside of a table where the major part of the pieces are unconscious and put on wrong places. That's the reason why we see this big chaos in the world, wars, problems, difficulties, all that. This moment is a moment of chaos. The chaos, as you know, and also is also the moment of a possibility, because before a new order happens, there is always a chaos. If everything would be still, we would not have the possibility to renew ourselves. And our race today, in this moment, is in the flow of renewal. So there are a lot of points in the world, these light points, spiritual communities which are born or start in all the world, which are light points. They are brightening up humanity. Why? Because we are speaking today about humans. I am the individual. Yeah, that's right. The individual is fundamental because it's the base of everything. But as every base, it has the need to expand, to grow. But what's the growth? The growth is everything. Like the humans, animals, we all have the tendency to come together. Why? To create more complexity and more evolution. We need to unify in a coherent way, in a functional way, of course, to be more human, to say so. So the fact we, whether we do this in the whole world, whether we are from a specific culture, specific religion, either we live on the North or the South Pole, but the feeling of all us humans is to live together in tribes, in families, in groups, in communities, in whatever it is, whatever we decide as ourselves in our body, which have like a little intelligence, a little function, but when they come together, they create an organ. And this organ has a much higher function than, which is then going into relation with the whole body. So in the same way, the humans, like little cells, when they unify as communities, they turn into organs of humanity, and they work inside humanity of that because they are consciously doing that. And that's why this is not happening in the big cities, or in the nations or wherever a lot of people are together, because they are not born with a common goal and a spiritual goal. They are not born to evolve humanity. No, the states, nations, cities, whatever, they are born to control humans. Control is already a term, let's say, positive way, but the majority of times they are um, started to dominate the humans, to keep them in ignorance, and to create different levels and castes where the rich ones, the priests in the temples and so on, and they kept the knowledge, and they are using the majority of the other people, like the majority. Today, the big opportunity is that we can create something new, not only in Italy, but the whole world, or the places where we live. We're not in under dictatorial states or absolute states. And in Europe, this tendency to favor wars, we need something different. To know humans, to make it evolve. And it's an environment of peace. That's what we need, of exchange. An environment where we feel protected. And from there, we can open ourselves to the spiritual world. An example, Falco, for those who didn't know, I think here, I guess, or He was the founder of Damanhur, or inspirer of Damanhur. And for a lot of years, he said, listen, it's beautiful to speak about spirituality, but if somebody has pain, a toothache, you have to you cure the toothache, because otherwise the person is only thinking of its pain. So we have to find an equilibrium of base serenity in our lives, because from there we can open ourselves to something different. But if we don't have like a roof where we can live, where we have food and social contact, so which are the nigredo parts, the lowest parts. When I'm speaking about lower parts, it's not like I don't say it without respect. No, they are functional. I mean, like, we have a body which has its own functionality and its needs. So the body tells us you have to eat, otherwise you die. You have to drink, you have to breathe, you have to reproduce, huh? Because the race has to go on, huh? So it's in the bodies which we use to say so in this moment, there are these necessities, and if we guide them, they are very functional. Of course, we don't have to get mixed up with our priorities, because these are the base necessities, but over them there are more important things which for real show us what we have inside of this clothing, ourselves, our being. So this being of ourselves has higher needs, which we said as before, which makes its nature flow inside of matter. Now we're a bit speaking about big lines. I know it's a bit in Italian you say we speak about the sex of the angels. It's a saying, like if you speak about huh? Big things. So, but this is to make us understand where we are, and what we want to do. Now, in a one, we will do a meditation together, where we will go and live the moment, the synchronic moment, because as we said before, every one of us has the need to direct ourselves in the right point, to then be able to get together with people who are adequate for yourself, which make you grow. But the first point, the first step, it's always us. Alpha, Omega, start, end. Know yourself, and you will know the universe. These are topics on which we have to meditate. They are essential keys which bring us to remember it's the we have to look on ourselves, not in an egoistic way to satisfy our needs. No, in an evolutionary way to find our spiritual richness, our value, our potential to be able then to manifest that. And here this concept starts. So all this alchemy, this magic of this discount magic, to say, I think of what I like and then I attract it. Naja. I I spoke about that more times. And also in this moment, we are a bit in a moment of rebirth, of reopening. This vision, it's a vision, it's too little. That doesn't mean that it's not working at all, but it means that, as we said, it's like second class of elementary school. But let's go a bit higher. Let's aim for something bigger. If we have this energy, we have higher frequencies ready to manifest. That's the key word. Manifestate what? This interior soul, which every one of us has, our soul can be uh, taken as the sun because, or compared to the sun, because a difference to our physical part, our soul doesn't have needs, not necessities. It's like the sun illuminating and then bringing energy, nourishment, light, and gives everything. It's an expression. Yeah, that's the higher alchemy, to reposition yourself there. Because why? Because if you put yourself in the center of your soul, you don't have any more needs of, we can say, the only need is sense to open, to express. But it's not this thing which you have to bring inside of you, not knowledge, not energy, nothing. Because there is the point of completeness, of maximum splendidness. So when we learn, as I said before, we are at Easter, as Jesus Christ, not me, I'm speaking to you, but God through me to say so. And that's also that the teaching, which is very simple, very Christian teaching, that the big masters, Christ, Mohammed, Buddha, and so on, a lot of more, brought a pure teaching, and then it was translated and manipulated afterwards to create religions, to create power, control, and things like that. But if you look at the life of Jesus and all these big souls, it's not that they wanted to create for themselves palaces and histories and live in abundance. Their abundance was what they expressed, the power, the beauty, the energy, the spirituality of this conscious God inside, which manifested in their cases. So also an ego so evolved as Jesus was um, was fused in front of Christ, and he let it go for the sake of being reborn 3 days after. That's an initiate's teaching. That's not a kid story. Of course, it was also told like a fairy tale, so that it could have been passed on. But still, for those who have a little bit the initiate keys to read these things, understand this profound meaning of it. So this profound meaning is still today something we have to follow, to sacrifice the human part of ourselves to elevate to our divine part. Sacrificing the human part doesn't mean to suffer, no, and stay in pain. No, when the human part is together with the divine part, has everything it wants, has an entire paradise. Huh? If we take these examples of Easter today. And to do that, we need to go on this pathway, this famous bridge of letting us being human to letting us being divine. And how do we do that? Everyone has to do that personally, of course, but there are a lot of people who did these passages already and can indicate this pathway to the others. So, and that's why we are here this evening. And together I will guide you in a meditation to go through this pathway and to find ourselves in these central points of communion with our divine spiritual part, with our higher selves, with our divine spark. So everyone can call it as you want. In this central part, which is not the center, but it's all everything around. It's the clearness, the beauty. And from there, you learn how to express. Because we will touch a lot of points tonight. And it's fine. Because speaking of the human part, we have our physical senses, which we need to perceive what's outside and to bring in information inside of us so that our mind can elaborate and analyze and give a sense and position this information. The divine part, instead, has senses which bring from the inside outside. And these senses are the ones which we, for example, start to learn during the school, the alchemy school we are holding in Damanhur. But it's important that you know about that because everyone has these divine senses, these inner senses. Well, usually you don't know that you have them or you don't know how to use them. But I've seen so many people in the world who are special. Like the saints of the Catholic tradition, the Sufi of the Muslims, the big Bodhisattva of the Orient, etc., etc. Famous spiritual masters. Being human, they learned to position themselves not in the I, but in the God. In Italian, it's a word game. It's Dio, from I to God. So this aspect we're all brought to do to go through. Okay. If you have any questions, please, it's important, either write it and then we will exchange a bit together and see how to interact. Now, I would like to start to do this meditation together, which we spoke. Because I like to remind you that alchemy is very practical, at least the Damanhuran alchemy. It's a reality where you have to experiment, you have to go through it, you have to experience it. Otherwise, it's only theory, but theory doesn't bring us to any part. So we need to live it because it's a lived experience is called knowledge. Knowledge done more and more often is transformed into consciousness. So it's all parts of our soul, but you need that practical action and in this continuity, and then the transformation of this into something wider and so on, and all the different pathway of the different quests, which we maybe see in another evening together. Good, Cesaranio. Now, I would like to bring you, would like to invite you to do this meditation together. Of course, for those who like to join us. And let's prepare. For those who don't know, I invite you to take a very simple position, and the position are like patterns of our body, which our body takes up, is using to make the energy flow at its best. And how is this position? So the base thing is not to have hands or legs crossed over. so open, because that's how the energy flows. Sorry. Then being seated on a chair, on a sofa, wherever you're seated, with an upright spine. Why? Because if we want to make the energy flow, we have to have the need to have a correct position. First thing, very simple. And why do we need this to, what do we need to enter into meditation? We need energy. How do we gain this energy? By a slow, profound breathing, because this gives us the opportunity to start. And then, of course, if you follow our voices, we let yourself transport, but it will be you who have to find the way. We will indicate that to you, but you will find your own pathway. Okay? Very good. So, let's relax for a moment and start with a slow and profound breathing. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your good open mouth. Very simple. And thanks to this slow, profound breathing, we start to feel the weight of our body, seated on the chair, on the sofa, wherever. The heat of our hand, the clothes lying on our body, and breath after breath, it helps us to relax more and more. And we inhale through our nose and we feel the air entering in our lungs. And then we make it go out of our good open mouth. And this allows us to be lighter and lighter. And breath after breath, we start to bring the attention, the presence to ourselves, to a point inside of us. This point which we feel in this very moment, this moment where our center is. And let's make a couple of breaths and bring energy to our center. Inhaling from the nose, feeling the air which brings this vital energy to our very center. And then, everything when we breathe out goes out. We don't need here and now the tensions, the day, whatever it is. But we concentrate on the light which is emanated by our center, this bright place, the center of every single one of us. And breath after breath, we let our thoughts go, the emotions flow, the sensations. The only thing we are interested in this moment is this bright center of ourselves. What is the light which starts from there? It's a bright light. It's a light irradiating our, brightening up our whole body, and breath after breath, it brings light to our whole vital aura, to the place, the room where we're seated, as a little bonfire, these colored flames, which in this moment are refining our human nature. And we observe, and we also can see ourselves or see whether we have parts in ourselves which we would like to abandon, which makes us tired, parts which are a past of ourselves, which we actually can let go so that they transform as it would be like an old clothes, like something which is maybe broken. We get rid of them, of these habits, and we make that this light illuminates this part, and it's burning them away, parts of ourselves. It transforms it, it transmutes it into something more refined, an energy which gives light nourishment to our center. We have the need of that, and we can remember that every time when we're there to express thoughts, negative emotions, or whatever it is, we keep them in. And we fuse them with our light, and which transforms them in a more refined energy. It's like a sacrifice of ourselves. Yes, we're sacrificing our desires, our impulses to see beyond, to see in a higher level, and breath after breath, this bonfire is generating new energy, new force, which is more refined. And we feel step by step lighter. And from the center of this fire, a bright figure starts to rise, to take up a form. It's the one what we called before the key of Isis, this cross of light with these higher parts, the cross of life, as ancient symbol, a symbol of rebirth, of transformation. And in this particular day, we observe this light of this key of Isis. It was called in so many different ways. We observe it, and over us, it's embracing us, and it starts to generate with these energies which we recalled, with energies we transformed from our lower parts into more refined parts. A new light around us, like a cosmic egg around us, the point of birth and rebirth of our divine nature. And breath after breath, we feel ourselves in the center of this cosmic egg. With this powerful energy, the base of life, all in us and around us. And breath after breath in this cosmic egg, the energies are mixing, they're condensing, and they're diluted. We don't know yet what we are, and we forgot what we are. Now we listen. We listen to the entire of this cosmic egg. And we feel these energies which flow and they move and they mature. They mature everything and they take up a direction which is gets faster and faster, a bright fire which from the center is emitting infinite energy because there, this place where our divine nature is preserved. And there we fuse with its, and this divine nature starts to generate its heat, to generate its light. It's like a little sun rising, and the sun is rising. So the sun, incredible, beautiful, bright, is rising and it's lighting up and manifesting. What is it what we would like to manifest? What are the most beautiful, marvelous parts of our divine nature, which our divine nature is inspiring us? Let's look at them. There is already the answer for every single one of us. It's us in our better version and in a higher way. And breath after breath, we feel this immense sun growing inside and around us, manifesting, and it's coloring everything of our higher nature. And every flame, every light is a possibility, a richness, a talent we can express. Infinite flames, infinite talents, infinite lives we're manifesting. And what would be the more truthful one? The best one is the one to which we put our attention to. We, as the phoenixes, gold born out of the sun, start to fly, and we go on a pathway of light, the ones we chose, our life, our marvelous life, which we manifest with all our power, with all our presence, divine presence, and this phoenix with its fire wings is brightening up our pathway. And breath after breath, we feel it inside above us with its open wings. And now it's overlaying to our physical body, making it bright, strong, beautiful, healthy, because that's the divine manifestation in the body. This sensation that every cell is filled up with benediction, with fragrances, with vitality, with energy. And breath after breath, we feel our whole body, which is irradiating light. Our face with a smile of joy, of happiness, of thankfulness, of life. This is the spring of being ready to go on this pathway of light, which our divine nature is brightening up in front of us. Ah, and breath after breath, we feel with our hands, our body. It's not a physical body anymore. It's a light body. Sure, it's still physical, but touch your face, feel it. Feel your hands, our feet. And breath after breath, we start to enter into contact with ourselves, with the here and now. I made some magical signs too. So we entered all of you, I hope. You made a little journey inside of us to touch what we called before the superior alchemy, the enemy of the soul. This makes us touch the most beautiful parts, the truest parts, the highest part of ourselves. That's the meaning, what we said before, of these moments of spring, of the spirit. When we open up to these infinite energies and we give the possibility of manifesting themselves. As I said before, that's the key. The sun is manifesting his own potential. The sun has no need, it's complete, it has everything. And we, as we are its emanation, we can be as well complete. We have this infinite fountain in us, incredible, on which we can, in whatever moment, rely to and return to this point, because from there we have to live. Living in communion with the human and the divine part, we create these new humans, humans of this new era. That's the goal we have here and now, to reawaken, to testify the sleeping part of ourselves, wake up this sleeping part in ourselves, to make it become alive. A lot of films and stories gave pieces of knowledge to prepare us to these moments of our lives. And now we have to benefit from these aspects, because we really give the possibility to live fully something beautiful. As all, we have to learn. And as we learned when we went to school to read and write, and there are also, for those who are now ready, the schools, the courses, the pathways to reawaken the senses of your soul, to learn to manifest all this potential which every one of us has, and especially to connect yourself with these higher energies, with people who have a frequency as ours, new friends, new people who can also help us, give us a hand to, to understand and live this divine nature of ourselves better. So that's my wish for you, is that you find a peer group, a group of people, as you here now, who chose to bring their attention to this new sense of being, because we're all in this moment stimulated to live these new energies. We all are called to, but only few respond because it's always at the beginning. Only little parts of the peoples are the opener of the streets. The others will then arrive, maybe in a couple of years, maybe in a couple of uh, decades. Maybe some even stay behind. Could be. Now it's a choice of every one of you. Where do you want to position yourselves? Which you wanna be placed the ones who call them pre-chosen ones? The superior race? No, which is not born. No, there's one, it's choosing it due to your choice. And that's in even the ancient text, in the Bible, and in other texts, they are speaking about these moments where the world will see a big transformation, a big fall of false gods to refine our actual nature. And today we recognize that the king is naked. It's always easier to see, to perceive the nature which is around us. And every one of us recognize that whether it's something right or wrong, or if something is prevailing something else, or it depressing something, or if it's helping. And today, thanks to this opportunity, what's happening in the world is open to everyone. We can choose how to where to position ourselves, and that's important because it alone we can do a lot, but together with others who are thinking it likewise, we can million times do more than and when we're alone. And that means evolution. But of course, I'm not telling you abandon your homes and families and come and live in community. No. Feel where your own heart brings you. Like a big alchemist, Paruquero, said, feel where's your moment, where's your pathway, because everyone has his own story to live. But this story is weaved together with a lot of others. And that's what is the point. We have this need of to find out, to live this threads and this weaving together of our destiny, which are made thanks to our decisions, because our destiny is a direction due to our birth. But now we have a free will and we have the choice. And we now can determine a direction, a new way, a new yourself. And that's what we have the possibility to do. Now, if you have any questions, we will be happy to listen to that. We have the chat which we can use, or you and also for those who are recuperating this recording, which I think are many, you can write to us so that it's like a meeting month after month we do, because then there are particular moments during the year where we encounter ourselves and we start a certain way of formation, which is then a more profound training, and which goes obviously beyond of what we heard only this evening, as we have an hour and a half. It's like a little opener, yeah? But we have then to learn to guide these energies, guide our life. And it's like, as every good student, we can uh, learn to go ahead on this pathway, on this street. So there are different moments in the year, which is the spring, which is the summer, and even in autumn, which we call the starting of the pathway in the alchemy school. But there sometimes are people who are doing individual pathways because they want to learn and understand with me, Gura, depends. So we also do very specific and tailored offers. So those who are interested to get to know more about our way of expressing alchemy and understanding whether the alchemy is something which is made for you, contact us. Let's have a talk about it. Huh? Of course, in a one-to-one encounter, you will receive a mail where you can book like these appointments, which are, of course, for free. And you can ask all the questions you personally have on the pathway. And that allows us to connect. Because these pathways are not only for, they're not for made for thousands of people. No, it's for few people. It's for those who synchronically arrive to listen in this moment to this message. So, and therefore, I'm telling you, is the right moment for every one of you. Know it, huh? And we're open to it because our goal is to help for real the souls one on one, not in masses, but to find everyone his uniqueness and that he can impress it in the world and be at service also for the others. Yes, Ananyo is responding to the questions in the chat because people were asking, is there a specific mail? Yes, we will write it after the webinar where you signed up. A mail will arrive with the possibility to sign up for these chats, these little meetings you can have with Ranyo in Italian and with Gura, who is a marvelous woman, directly in English. So Ranyo now just writing the it's the mail info@damanhuralchemyschool.com. You can see it also in the chat here of the Zoom meeting, so you can copy it. But so if you don't receive the mail, which you should in these days, then please contact us, write to us, info@damanhuralchemyschool.com. And then so that you understand that what the Alchemy School is offering, because it's a school which exists since it was founded together with Falco Tarasco, who created Damanhur as a bigger chemical container and allowed us to make that there is a physical place where the souls can grow. It's like a chemical greenhouse. Instead of the plants, we made the people grow, flourish them. That's the one of the goals of the birth of Damanhur. Damanhur is not a religion, not as a sect. It's a philosophy of life. It's a life school for souls, for the souls. That's what Damanhur is. And in particular, as you know, Cesaranio, the alchemy school is one of these specific offers or pathways where we're working on to express our personal potential. I'm seeing that it's a very quiet evening where the energies are pleasurable, at least here. They have been quite heavy moments There was a lot of floodings and disasters. So now it's getting better. Rania says, I don't see any particular questions, but I brought you a lot of points to go ahead. Because if every day we dedicate a moment to ourselves, to nourish ourselves with something refined, then step by step, day after day, we feel the result. And then at a certain point, we will have this vitality which is growing, this light, this possibility which we're emitting more and more, because alchemy is working on us, of course, but as a reflex, it also brings well-being to everyone who's around us, to our family, our friends, even our workplace. We're active agents of change, positive change, of making a better life. Not doing big proclamation, no, but being our essence, and that's valid for every one of us, huh? And that's why it's so fundamental to transform ourselves. If we transform ourselves, we transform what's around us, and we make it better. So, said that, I thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful spring and to live these energies of renewal at its max and to be together with this divine light yourselves. So thank you very much. Have a good evening and see you soon. All the best from Damanhur. Convoy, as we say here.